an innovative net under the such typical and unusual conditions and come to the fore as an exceptional and aspirant air cargo company. Emboldened by this success, we aim even higher with Turkish Cargo. Soon, Turkish Cargo will become a full-flight subsidiary company rather than a sub-brand, and will have its own giant terminal at Istanbul Airport, the great mega hub of Turkish Airlines, scheduled to be inaugurated in the spring of this year. This state-of-art facility is named SMARTIST. Once all of these phases are completed, SMARTIST will be the largest industrial building with a closed area of 340,000 square meters and will be able to handle 4 million tons of cargo per year. The smaller facility will also underscore Istanbul's continent-spanning location, providing the perfect gateway for commerce between East and West. Dear valuable fellows, the resounding success of Turkish Cargo in the worst year in aviation history underlines a single notion: the importance of serving as a global bridge in the international supply chain. A notable example in this regard is that Turkish Cargo, a lift that was seen from China in specialized containers and delivered them to Brazil by ensuring the secure transportation of the vaccine to 17,000 kilometers away. Thanks to air cargo companies such as Turkish Cargo, tens of millions of doses of vaccine continue to reach people all around the world. In this gradual endeavor to turn the tide against the pandemic, we are well aware that a fearlessly functioning air cargo industry is crucial and integral in delivering the vaccine. Furthermore, Turkish Cargo is the first air cargo carrier to receive full certification for carrying pharmaceuticals, fresh food, and live animals from the International Air Travel Association. Offering service to 120 countries and more than 320 destinations around the world, Turkish Cargo will be ready for an even bigger role in the post-pandemic world. The target is to reach the global top 3 while aiming to carry 1 out of every 10 air cargo shipments. I strongly believe that cargo tours like Turkish Cargo will be a fruitful platform to exchange ideas on how to navigate during these uncertain times. I hope the discussion here will provide us with our ways of cooperation for a brighter future in our industry in this new era of aviation. Extending my gratitude to everyone involved in the organization of Cargo Talk, I bid you all a fruitful and enlightening life event. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. Good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Iker Aycu. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Turan Olsen, Chief Cargo Officer, Turkish Airlines, to the opening speech. Let's hear from him how Turkish Cargo handled the crisis and increased market share during the pandemic. Most distinguished representatives of global air cargo industry and honorable stakeholders, participants from all around the world. As the Chief Cargo Officer of Turkish Airlines and the head of Turkish Cargo, it's my honor and privilege to welcome you all to the very first edition of the Cargo Talks QA. What is QA? Inspire to bring the leading stakeholders of the industry together by focusing on tourism and future of global air cargo, which is becoming more and more crucial for the world economy and also vital with respect to its value. Through my speech, I would like to share our insights on where we are now and where we are going. The cargo industry primarily acts as the vital link within the supply chain of all time-sensitive and high-quality products worldwide. Although it is 1% of total global trade, it is almost 35%. A very significant portion which is steadily increasing for many reasons. The industry is carrying products valued more than $6 trillion while enabling critical supply and value chains for many industries, from e-commerce to pharma, from automotive to fashion, and from electronics to machinery. The industry is unique with its time advantage, visibility, standardized handling, and service quality. Air logistics is vital for global air traffic, and no doubt many events, sports organizations, concerts, and races are all organized thanks to air cargo. In the last year, the international freight ton-kilometer levels managed to grow during 8 of 10 years. During the last decade, air cargo industry has grown with 2.5% CAGR. Then comes 2020, a historic year with an unprecedented impact to the world and its economy during the last 8 years. This was certainly a challenging year for the supply chains as well as the airlines, and thus a combined shock for the air cargo. Many industries, in particular aviation, were severely hurt. According to the data reported by ICAO, global passenger figures declined an average of 60% in 2020. Besides the estimated COVID-19 impact on scheduled passenger traffic in the world, as compared to the levels reported for 2019, represents an overall decline of 50% for the seats offered. Furthermore, we can see an approximately $370 billion of loss of passenger operating revenues for the airlines. Such sudden contraction stems from the changes in passenger habits, and in particular, the traveler restrictions. In Thailand, the air cargo industry faced several problems, starting with global volumes shrinking due to a supply shock, followed by a strong demand decrease in several conventional industries, and the lack of belly capacity on the other hand, due to the grounded passenger flights. Up to 60% of total air cargo capacity was affected by the passenger travel restrictions and the demand fall. Airlines resorted to various strategies to overcome some problems and applied many different ways to create more capacity, such as cargo-only passenger flights, passenger deck loading, and seat removals. Passenger freighters, in other words, freighters, became the lifesavers not only for airlines but also for many countries where was scarce. The heavier supply chain disruption in other transport modes, such as ocean and road shipments, created additional impacts on the air cargo flow worldwide. This period that we are going through since a year now has shown the flexibility and agility are indispensable for airlines. Accordingly, vital to take the right steps as quickly as possible. We initiated our first passenger flight as early as mid-March, and by the end of the same month, all of the TK fleet in the skies was Turkish cargo freighters and passenger freight. During such crucial period, we accomplished to initiate our total fleet, to mobilize the whole freighter capacity, including belly and passenger decks, and to respond to crisis with agility. As a result, through March to June, we succeeded to maintain a significant part of our global network up to 130 regular destinations, which made Turkish cargo by far the largest air cargo network in the world, as it was before the pandemic. When the travel restrictions were at their highest levels in April and May, we have operated more than 180 passenger freighter flights weekly by employing 50 different cargo-friendly passenger engines. Today, Turkish cargo operates the 6th largest freighter fleet, and being one of the youngest ones, our fleet today consists of 25 wide-body freighters flying to 96 freighter destinations. Accordingly, during 2020, we have operated around 2,900 cargo-only passenger flights. Starting from the beginning of the pandemic, we have carried over 50,000 tons networks were dissolving and losing meaningful connections, we have kept our cargo network intact and made additions to protect the majority of our passenger-only destinations and increase the total destination over 130. These flights are the physical evidences of our commitment to our customers and business partners, but most importantly, our efforts to fight against global pandemic. With the good news coming from the vaccine companies by November and December last year, the vaccination process was initiated in the world. As we are expecting that the vaccine production and vaccination efforts will expand and accelerate throughout this year, the air cargo industry, for the second time in a row, will show enormous value to the world's citizens. IATA sees the transportation of vaccines as the mission of the century, and we are glad to see more and more alignment and preparations going on day by day. We have in our hub built additional cold rooms of 1,200 square meters and increases our passive and active container capacity significantly. We have built up an internal task force for COVID-19 vaccine shipments and developed projections as based on the existing and potential traffic. In the light of the recent investments, I am proud to say that we are now able to transport, handle, and deliver up to 40 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines throughout the world in a single day. With a global market share of 7.5% in pharmaceutical shipments, we are among the most active carriers in vaccine transport. And we are committed to being fully involved throughout 2021 with ever increasing vaccination process. In order to overcome the challenges posed by pandemic, we have also speeded up with the digitalization of our work processes. We believe that technology is fundamental to respond quick and be agile to ever-changing needs of work markets. In fact, the pandemic period accelerated digitalization throughout our industry, as well as for others. For instance, digital customer communication systems, such as chatbots and online reservation systems, started to expand day by day. It may go up. The booking portal became so popular during this pandemic period that we quickly invested to improve Go for better user experience and response time. Afterwards, we have decided to integrate into digital marketplaces. Recently, we have finalized the development of API gateway to directly integrate with our forwarders and digital marketplaces. With this API, forwarders with whom we integrate are now able to directly make booking, manage spot trade processes, see currency schedules, and order times, and take the advantage of special offers offered to them. In this system, information moves much faster and lean processes lead. In addition, when it is fully integrated in all leading digital markets industry, all forwarders will be able to perform online booking, spot fees, and cargo tracking transactions. In this way, our customers will be able to perform their transactions online 24/7 without any intermediaries. On the other hand, we also developed our WhatsApp chatbot called Cargo. This system has helped us to deal quickly and satisfactorily with many of our customers in a time of busy and constantly changing schedules, especially in the initial phases of the pandemic. You can easily learn the up-to-date schedule and track your cargo with the help of Cargo. To get better response times and improve the quality and speed of our services, in 2020, we just hired 4 new colleagues: Alpha, Bravo, Beta, and Charlie. These are our robotic process automation, RPA robots, which are metal color colleagues added to our workforce, and they are now essential in some of our internal processes. RPA robots have undertaken the standard work processes carried out by our staff and created the opportunity to focus our teams more on high-value activities. We aim to use the extraordinary potential of Istanbul as a global hub with minimum detour that is closest to the world's center of gravity in logistics and international trade. In terms of hub connectivity, As compared to 2009, Istanbul Airport grew by 363% and ranked fourth in Europe and sixth in the world. Within the organization of Turkish Airlines, we combine the natural advantages of our geographic location with the technological advancements. In addition to our current digitalization efforts, we are also about to move to our new cargo facility, SMARTest, in Istanbul Airport. This new facility will be equipped with cutting-edge handling and warehousing technologies, which will carry us to a whole new level. Therefore, we are calling our new facility SMARTest, and it will be among the best facilities in the world in terms of technology and cargo capacity. As you already know, Istanbul Airport is set to become one of the biggest airports in the world in terms of passenger numbers. But it is not widely known that Istanbul Airport is also set to become one of the biggest cargo airports in the world. Our facility, SMARTest, is built to reach 4 million tons of annual capacity when all phases are completed. By moving into SMARTest, we will also complete our transition to the single hub system, and we will be providing our customers with much less connection times and better quality. In SMARTest, we aim to use modern technologies such as automated storage systems, 3D ULD planning, wearable technologies, unmanned ground vehicles, and integrate them fully into our warehouse management systems and work processes. With the help of all such added capacity and technology, we are confident that we will raise the bar even higher. Esteemed participants, I would like to further give you some insights about how far we have come until 2021. In terms of freight ton kilometer, among all IATA airlines, we had ranked 22nd with a market share of 1.8% just back in 2015. In just 6 years, we have more than tripled our freight ton kilometers and ranked 6th with a market share of 4.7%. At the peak of pandemic, our market share reached to 5%, so that we were able to transport one of each to the world. As Mr. Aycı, our chairman, mentioned in his speech, we are welcoming 2021 with a new facility and new corporate identity. We always believe in the saying that what customers perceive is your reality, and put our customers at the center of everything. We always aim to be their most reliable business partner and continuously provide them with efficient and sustainable air logistics and supply chain solutions. Our motto is raise the bar, and we definitely aim to be among the top 3 carriers in the world. This is not limited only to the increase of our volumes, but of our ever-increasing performance and capabilities with reliability. We are committed to being a distinguished enabler for the global economy and trade by operating the largest global network and by creating new air bridges in the future. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you will enjoy our Cargo Talks live event.
Well, thank you, Mr. Turan Ozan. That was a lot of valuable information you gave us. Especially air cargo is only 1% of the whole cargo carried, but 5% of the value. Okay, right now, our first panel experts are joining us online today. The topic of discussion is the future of the air cargo industry, moderated by Ahmet Settak, who is an experienced logistic professional and master executive coach. Let me see what. Okay, welcome, Mr. Ahmed.
Hello, how are you?
I'm looking forward to hear about the future of air cargo. So the stage is yours. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, joining us from the Americas. Good day to those who are joining us from Europe and Africa. And good evening to those joining us from Asia and Australasia. My name is Ahmet Tansi, and I'm managing partner of Engage for Results consultancy company and a visiting lecturer at Head Business School Supply Chain Master Program. Today we will be talking about the future of air cargo, and I am joined by very distinguished guests. I believe that one by one we have got from Singapore, JC Yip. She's General Manager of Cargo Logistics Development at Changi Airport Group. Hi, JC, how are you?
I'd like to thank British Cargo for having very well organized and effective program.
You are more than welcome. Thank you very much. We also have Peter Pansel. I think Peter is joining us from Paris or from France. He's the Chief Operating Officer of Air Freight at SIBA Logistics. Hi, Peter. How are you?
Fine, thanks, MSA. Thanks for the invite, and I made something more shiny.
Ah, okay, very good. Oh, of course, Marseille is a beautiful Marseille. Indeed. Thank you very much. We have got Professor Dr. Wouter de Boer. He's the director of CMAT at University of Antwerp, Faculty of Business and Economics. Wouter, how are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. And I'm from a snowy Antwerp.
Oh, very good.
Thank you as well for inviting me here. So far, I've been impressed with the setup and the organization. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we have Marco. Marco, you are in Utrecht, in Netherlands. Marco is the managing director at Seabury Consulting. Hi, Marco.
Hi, Ahmed, and indeed also hello from snowy Utrecht.
Ah, okay, snow there as well. Very sunny time in Istanbul at the moment. And we have got also Dr. Cor de Man. Dr. Cor is the Senior Vice President of Cargo Sales for Turkish Cargo. Dr. Cor, how are you?
Thank you, Albert. I'm doing well, and greetings from a snowy, but also sunny Amsterdam, where I'm enjoying our great cargo talks. Thank you very much to our guests on the panel joining what will be an interesting discussion.
Very good. We will be talking about the future of air cargo, and I want to define what we mean by the future. We are not talking about the next coming years when the world will be recovering from COVID-19 crisis, nor are we talking about 40, 50 years ahead of when probably UFOs will do it in cargoes. So we are looking at 2030, 2040. So 10 years from now, we will try to discuss with our distinguished guests how will the cargo scenery look like in 10 years from now. A lot of things are happening. Regional development are differential from one region to another. Trade blocks are changing, and the aircraft designs are changing. Lots of things are changing. There are things that we cannot estimate as well. So I'm all very curious about finding out what our distinguished guests are thinking about how the cargo will look like in 10 years from now. So without much ado, I will start with my first question to Marco. Marco, can you tell me how will the demand change in the next 10 years in terms of where will it come from and how will the consumers with e-commerce and so forth, what are we expecting the next 10 years?
Yeah.
Thanks, Ahmed. And perhaps to answer that question, of course, as we're scoping, it's easy affecting us, even for the longer term. But it's interesting to look at the long-term history in terms of how have we grown and what are some of the trends that we can learn from history for a longer-term future. That was interesting. I just had a look at some of the data points, and I was looking at, for example, what's happening in the US. Right? So US on the transatlantic, we are basically back in the 2000s. We were transporting as much cargo in 2000 as we did last year on the transatlantic. So there's not much growth there, but at the same time, if we see the development of China over time, just been tremendous, as we know. But just to give you an idea, China trade with the US, which is now the largest individual country trade zone, despite all kinds of trade barriers, and has grown 4 times as much in this 20-year time frame. So between China and US and China, we have developed enormously in not just on that individual trade lane alone, and China in general, marvelously, I would say, in terms of global air freight. Now, the big question is, how will that continue going forward? What we are currently analyzing in all detail is the so-called China +1 strategy, right? So there are also talk around big manufacturers developing a secondary place besides China to manufacture their goods, and fallback. And we're analyzing where we are seeing quite recently pleasant developments in Southeast Asia, for example. Markets like Vietnam are already well known, but there are other countries in Southeast Asia which are particularly well, and that we're expecting for the longer term becoming, also manufacturing powerhouses, not as big as China. China will remain by far the biggest manufacturing powerhouse in the world. So, hey, just to put something in perspective, some trade lanes, there hasn't been much activity, and maybe going forward, we won't expect the growth rates. Some other countries, China, remain a manufacturing powerhouse in the world, but also new countries, new emerging countries coming up. Maybe with that, I'll give it back.
Thank you very much, Mario. Thank you very much for this insight. And I'll ask the same question to Wouter, actually. Wouter, do you agree with Mark?
Yes, I tend to agree largely. Of course, air cargo is a derived demand. There's no real demand for air cargo. Demand goods underlying the air cargo demand. So I tend to agree with Marco. Of course, everything depends on how trade, the geopolitics will evolve. I'm personally more optimistic as well. I think there will be more trade, less nationalistic, and I fully agree with Marco that Asia will be and will remain powerhouse with the time. Not only China, I think countries like India, Indonesia, Vietnam, which this space, China +1, the +1 could very often be one of these countries. We also see GDP growing there quite fast, which means there might be some additional trade, which might be some additional import coming. So I personally think that the center of gravity, which indeed, as Marco was saying, the 60s, 70s, 80s, was between Europe and the United States, you see the center of gravity moving towards so basically, I confirm what Marco was saying.
Very good. So we are looking at a very positive outlook and also a shift in center of gravity of demand. That must be affecting the value chain. JC, what do you think? How will the value chain react to that?
Well, first and foremost, I agree with what Marco has mentioned about the shift of trade flows. But I'd like to shift this discussion a bit towards consumer behavior. I'm sure my fellow panelists here will agree that we have already seen a paradigm shift in consumer purchasing behavior more towards online shopping as well as e-commerce. So if I may bring some IATA data, so in 2020, almost a quarter of the world's population already shopping online in one form or another. And I believe that post-COVID and in the next couple of years, and maybe longer term, this trend will continue. Now, if we look at the air freight profile and composition in recent years, we are already seeing a shift from conventional cargo to higher proportion of special cargo, including temperature controlled shipments as well as e-commerce. Now, just to focus a bit more on the e-commerce. So recent reports have also indicated that today about 10% of global air cargo volume are accounted by e-commerce, and it is projected to expand to about 20%, double by 2022. And Ahmed, your question is, the next 10 years, this share will continue to rise exponentially. Now, with the increasing dominance of e-commerce in our air cargo sector, I believe that traditional models and relationships will also change. The air cargo industry will shift from conventional B2B to a more consumer-centric one. So what does it mean? This means that there will be a higher demand on air cargo sector, and consumers like you and I, we want our parcels to be delivered like yesterday, faster, cheaper, and with more visibility. So all these forces will certainly drive changes and will have impact on our operational processes and approaches, on technology adoption, and also infrastructure demand, both physical and digital.
Very good. Very good. Oh, this is getting more and more exciting. Big changes are looming. Thank you very much. And Peter, I mean, there is this balance between the freight forwarders and integrators. Will that be affected in the coming 10 years, you think?
Of course, it will have impact, because if the numbers of e-commerce, and then it's also dependable how those streams will be booked and who will own that air freight capacity flow. Because we just heard that customers, they want to have it today, preferably yesterday, but are they always for it? Or are the ones who are offering the logistics tell everybody that transport is for free? And we all are in this industry and know that air transport is not for free. And we see also the results of a lot of carriers after COVID breakout that the airlines are struggling because no tickets sold, and that reduces a lot of air cargo capacity via the passenger network that those carriers are operating. When you see the combination between the freight forwarder, the integrator always had their place in the market by being a solution selling vehicle, and they keep doing that. Also for them, capacity is essential. They have sufficient capacity to deliver the needs for the parcels that can be shipped with certain cost element. And there you will see that there will be some shifts, of course, because the ones who control the capacity will be more and more in the driver's seat. Will it be the same when all the passenger aircraft will come back into the market? And that will be always a big discussion. Where will that shift? Will it move back to the freight forwarder side or the integrator side? And that's all dependable on the trade lanes and on the business that they are facilitating. Because I think with some knowledge about the capacity that was pulled out of the market, that if you see the total market pre-COVID, air cargo market uplifted by passenger aircraft, that was close to 60%. So you can imagine with all those aircraft now on the ground and coming back into the market, but then still, as also what Turkish Airlines are doing, what they call the freighters with a P, that you will see that it's from an origin to the destination. So a lot of point-to-point flying, and it's not suitable with the growth we foresee also for the future. So I think bright future for the air cargo. It will continue. A lot of airlines will recognize now that cargo is an important product within the mixed carriers, because as of last year, March, they all see that cargo is generating an income flow for the carriers, and that will continue.
Very good, Peter. Thank you very much. Lots of changes happening. So, Dr. Kaur, that must also influence the cargo companies, the airlines. How will that affect their approach?
Well, if I look at what we just discussed, and then it's track record and insights, it's hard to disagree with. So looking at, but if you look at an air cargo company like ourselves and continue to grow and be successful in the coming decades, it needs to focus more on the client-centric development of products and services that evolve and change with the world itself. So what is needed today may not be in that same way, in the same frequency or quantity tomorrow. And the question you could ask yourself, will it continue to be a derivative run that our esteemed guest said, or can it become a fixed value in the algorithms that increasingly support the management of global supply chains? We see the upcoming of artificial intelligence there to meet the demand to deliver a package yesterday, next order going today. The ultimate dream of e-commerce shopping. And currently, pharma and life sciences are now hot. You need to they are the hot topic. Vaccines, transportation, catching public eye and interest. Yet, if I look at the past weeks of our operation, a lot of flowers were sent to the Valentines of this world can enjoy the 4th of February. So here's my tip to all listeners, and I think everybody who's listening to our great conference. It is this coming Sunday, so grab the opportunity, make the loved ones feel extra special on that special day, and we can use some love in this place. But no matter how fancy or how strict fine and sexy products are, none would have any value. Operational excellence is up to the business. A global network and the intertwined delivery of such both value and data is not planned for the future instead of the past. So supply chains are expected to live almost on time and in better. The high expectations are for tomorrow. And so the focus on core competency, commitment to excellence, and client simplicity are the elements that define, but there is a culture of passion, and strive themselves to the point where clients up and down that supply and demand chain count on the Turkish cargo in this case. And that's the upcoming opening of Smarties, the world's most advanced hub, and our ongoing investments in technology and especially our investments in human capital are testament of Turkish cargo ambition to be that differentiator in this exciting market. So a complex answer to a complex question. We need to be prepared for the future and looking a decade ahead. It's investing in technology, in network, and in people that will help us sustain that demand.
Very good. Thank you very much. So stressing the importance on the operational excellence with these changes. Let me shuffle the sequence of questions and I go back to Peter again. Peter, give us an insight about how the demand and supply, the balance between demand and supply, you think will change. I mean, there was talk about the fact that demand will grow and the nature of it will change. But how will that be balanced against the supply?
Let's open my crystal ball.
Yes.
Because that is the thing, and especially after the pandemic, to manage that, and again, we are still using that pre-COVID. But at the end of the day, we are now close to a year already executing the business as what we saw happening in March or slightly before March last year. No, of course, it will have a big impact because capacity still is an issue. GDP in most of the countries is growing, so that means that people saved a lot of money, but they want to spend money because that's a human behavior. So a lot of companies are having discussions at the end of last year. Hopefully, passenger network is coming back, so capacity is coming back. So from a shipper's perspective, when we started to have the dialogues, what will have the impact of the vaccine movement? Will it be as big as Marco had said in August? But also they see now that we are in 2021 that the impact was not as big as we expected mathematically in August of previous year.
but it had impacted the perception on how to secure capacity in 2021 from a trade border perspective, but for sure from a shipper's perspective, because they saw they were confronted with a huge increase in spend. And how do they deal with that in 2021 by creating the new budget when they have to deliver their logistics budgets for 2021? There you will see for sure that some big shippers are trying to reach out to airlines themselves and trying to secure business. If they manage that capacity, yes or no, that is a different discussion. But they try to find answers from carriers if there is sufficient capacity uplift by cargo, and you will see the huge shift that some of the bigger freight forwarders and even some niche players will start to have dedicated rights and reach out to commercial carriers if there will be a possibility to have their own capacity in the market so that they can serve their customers as promised and on a consistent way of quality. Again, for big quote out clearly, you can only be successful when your operations are on a perfect condition to deliver the needs that the market is looking for. And you need to come up with a structure that people feel comfortable when it comes to the rates. And that is proven in 2020. That was sometimes a very difficult aspect because there was not sufficient capacity in certain days or certain months of the year. And we believe that that will continue. So you need to come up with a plan. How do you serve your customers and how do you quantify that service back to the qualifying offer you do to them? And that will have impact for the entire year because the third wave of COVID, we all thought the passenger network was coming back much quicker. We don't see that happening in the next few months. So still continuing in finding capacity at the right time for the right price. And that will be the discussions in the upcoming weeks, months for both freight forwarders as for the shippers.
Very good. Peter, thank you very much. Lots of pressure on the demand patterns will change, and the supply chain behind must change as well. Marco, what do you think?
Yes, the supply chain will definitely change. We noticed last year in particular, but it's a sign of time overall that when demand and supply are not in sync, as we tend to call it, and strange things happen. We see it especially last year. With so much supply going out, that demand and supply were really firm, and that basically causes all kinds of major disruptions in the industry. So that what would that mean for the longer term, right? I mean, your original question is right. Hey, the next 10 years, what does that mean? I would tend to agree quite a bit, actually, Peter, that on the capacity side, even in the midterm or so, we will be seeing constraints. We are anticipating that especially the wide body belly space, doesn't return at the level of 2019 in a very short time frame. So if you know that, that means that this unequilibrium, if you will, between demand and supply will be there. So that's one capacity constraints, and that will have a major impact on how to organize things. The second one is something that JC alluded to, and I tend to call it the acceleration for e-commerce. E-commerce trend was definitely happening, was already growing double digits over years before COVID. We would anticipate that to continue. If you now since COVID, if you didn't have a workshop before, you better have one now, because otherwise everything's closed, right? So you see a lot of not only big shippers and big vendors, but also the small ones. They are now going omni-channel and making sure that selling online is a fundamental piece of business. And so it has to accelerate, and I would expect it to accelerate in many different ways. And consequently, that means how you organize your distribution changes with it, right? You don't need to go to a store anymore. You have a certain location, distribution center where you basically go from there, which means things worse delivery time. And then the other acceleration, if you will, is around sustainability, and not so much for the transportation industry themselves, but more towards the we know that we're going more into electric cars. And if you have an electric car, you need a lot more semiconductors to be able to operate that electric car compared to a traditional car. And at the same time, we have seen semiconductor shortage which is affecting the whole industry. It's affecting automotive, and it's affecting electric automotive. And that is also accelerating. So we're accelerating towards the sustainability platform, which means that what we are transporting by air is also changing, and the delivery time of those is also changing. So expect a lot more high-tech semi parts, if you will, or related, flying by air. Some key markets that we talked about before, China, Southeast Asia. So again, capacity constraints manufacturing, which means different supply chains, the acceleration of e-commerce, how we organize our supply from a distribution perspective, and the acceleration of services flying by air due to sustainability.
Very good. Wouter, do you agree with that?
Up to a large extent, I agree. Of course, if you look within 10 years' time, I am somewhat of a different opinion. I mean, all the models we see is that air cargo demand, as I just said, is a derived demand. It is forecasted it will grow to 4% a year. Of course, in Asia, it will grow faster than the United States, but generally 2 to 4% in that range, and that really depends on trade flows and so on. And so that is for sure. On the other side, if you look at the supply and the capacity being offered in the market is mainly passenger driven. As Peter was also saying, for the moment, passenger flights, and it will probably take 3, 4, maybe 5 years before we back on track. But the forecast for passengers growth is 4 to 6%. Once again, Asia on the higher side, especially India, China, Indonesia, and some countries, they grow faster. So we may also not forget that we have more and more wide body aircraft, which are cargo friendly, coming into the market. Cargo friendly 747, A380s are being replaced by smaller aircraft, which are more cargo friendly, 787, A350, and so on. So you also have to look at the passenger flows, and in 6 to 10 years' time, you really see this passenger flows taking off. So we really see this capacity coming back to the market, even faster than the cargo growth. So all the models show that we get out of that capacity squeeze. And then, of course, you have another variable which we have talked about, is the oil price. The oil price remains low. All forecasts for that the oil price will remain low over the next 5 to 10 years. Then you will see in the older aircraft, it's older freighter aircraft. So I see capacity increase, and I increase faster than the demand for cargo, which means that the golden time which you have for the moment might disappear from which side you are. So don't think about, wow, it's great. 3, 4 years time, things might change, and 10 years time for sure, we will have a capacity growth which is significantly higher than the cargo growth. Of course, so there's some underlying positive factors, as JC was saying. You have the e-commerce. Do not forget as well, we talk about cross-border e-commerce. In Europe and the US, we have lots of domestic e-commerce. In Asia, you have intra-Asian cross-border e-commerce. So I tend to agree, yes, in the short term. In the midterm, yes, as well, with cargo, but in the longer term, I definitely see capacity outpacing that. Again, a phenomenon which was already happening before COVID, that will continue.
Very good. I love it, but there are different opinions, and that makes a good quality webinar. I think. Thank you very much, Wouter, and we will no doubt discuss about that a little bit more.
10 years time, I meant. The recording.
Yes, we will look at Peter's crystal ball. I think he will.
That's an important element.
Very good.
But I totally think differently about that. I don't think that passenger aircraft will come back that rapidly. First of all the airlines went into COVID times, they will reduce the fleet earlier retirement of aircraft because of cost, the cash flow situation of a lot of airlines, then the passengers can grow. Which airlines will be then growing in which part of the world, and will that facilitate a general growth of air freight capacity? I don't see that happen that quickly. So I'm slightly more pessimistic when it comes to that. So that the cargo capacity needed will be for at least the next 5, 6, 7 years being under scrutiny. Because who can afford buying those expensive aircraft to offload those passengers and getting back the aircraft that were already pre-COVID flying? I think they are still on the right number of aircraft optimize the load factors of the majority of the airlines. So I really have to see if that will happen.
Very good. Well, the way I look at it is when I see such big experts having slightly differing opinions, then I would say to the shippers, be careful and think for 2 scenarios, both of the scenarios. Capacity is outgrowing or being less than the growth of demand. So I think it looks like there are differing opinions, which is very good. So we are not looking at the future, if we could see the future that well. 10 years ago, who would have guessed UK would be not part of Europe? Things happen, so it is. There will be different opinions. It's very good. So I think we talked reasonable amounts on the demand and demand patterns. But what about the infrastructure? So JC, how will the future airports cargo systems look like? I mean, Turan talked about smartest. So will that be the trend? What will the future cargo facilities look like, and air as well?
Yeah, so if you're looking at the longer term horizon, 10 years and beyond, I'm a firm believer that the airport will continue to stay responsible, not even more responsible. As an orchestrator to develop a vibrant, agile, and sustainable air cargo ecosystem in each of our air cargo hubs. So if you ask me how the future air cargo logistics hub would be different from today, couple of points. I believe that new technologies will emerge. Today, we have already seen the capitalization of machine learning, AI, the IoT, and robotics. These technologies will mature and new technologies will emerge to further automate our cargo processing capabilities and also to enhance supply chain efficiency. And earlier, Peter talked about integrators. In a few years' time, I think even now, I believe that the meaning of integrators are also being redefined. If we see e-commerce giants like Amazon and Alibaba, they are in the process of gaining full control of the entire supply chain, including air cargo processing as well. And I also like to bring up that with the rise of the sharing economy, I think we are very used to ordering food online and ordering car rides. So with this, new operating models will also emerge. So instead of independently owned facilities and services, perhaps shared facilities and services will become the new norm in the longer horizon. So just to share a bit, in Singapore, we are currently planning for our future air logistics hub ready sometime in 2030, alongside with our passenger terminal 5. And with all this evolving and fast-changing supply chain trends that we just talked about, I think there are a couple of learning points that we learned along the way. I think first and foremost, while we need to plan early and try to anticipate the future, there should always be flexibility being embedded onto our master plan to allow all of us to be nimble as well as agile. And I think it's also very important that the community comes together, take on a very inclusive approach when it comes to logistics hub planning. Air cargo stakeholders, both the public and private. Now, coming back to the e-commerce, right? Not only warehouse processes need to be streamlined and need to be modernized, but not forgetting, you also need to look at every touch point of the supply chain, including cargo security, custom processes, and even border control processes. The last point that I'd like to make is that I also believe that the airports are well placed to digitally connect different stakeholders in the air cargo supply chain and create a very safe environment for different stakeholders to share data, enhance overall supply chain capability. So before I pass back to you, Ahmed, I just want to reinforce that time is up. In fact, maybe it's happening right now already. End-to-end visibility no longer a good have, but it's going to be a must-have.
Must-have. It will be. Yes, indeed. JC, thank you very much. Now, my attention goes more and more towards the future, and I want to imagine how it will look like. So, Dr. Kaur, what are your thoughts on that one? I want to talk about the fixed-wing drones for the future. Do you think that will be a future? I mean, that will probably give the flexibility that JC is talking about, the agile and nimble supply chain. Do you think the fixed-wing drones will be something of the future?
Well, I think this is an enticing question, and great to see those different views all around the center, and I think that's great discussion. And looking ahead, I actually hope we can invite you all to come and see smart when it's finished, and let's then continue that discussion sitting all together at the same room and keep us up. But in this world, there is a lot to know, but then a lot more that we don't know. And humanity does not know for sure what it does know. And in that light, one can say that making a prediction continues to be difficult, especially where it concerns the future. And obviously, this saying comes from Winston Churchill, referring to your Brexit part. No one could envisage that 10 years ago. However, what we do know that there are elements that are being set in motion to make our world more connected, as Jason said, end-to-end, both from a technological as an infrastructural point of view. And both worlds are touching each other with higher frequency and intensity. So, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and so on. And drones are an example where we see that happening more and more, and up to a point where next fixed-wing drones for maybe the large distances, up to smaller drones for final deliveries and or express deliveries within a certain range and time. That will become the other. And then there are some countries that say, well, that first delivery drone is already there. Big white bird that is delivering information. And I noted that McKinsey organized a webinar a couple of weeks on this subject, and at first it wasn't clear to me that there is value in the deployment for particularly route shipments to take the drone. As for the mainstream air cargo, I don't think that drones will replace complex configuration, freighter and embedded capacity that is interactively adapted to the constant changing demand, driven by technology, seasonality, or as we are experiencing the global effect in that time. So drones for the future, yes. How exactly it's best applied, what is the best that dimension, the weight, ratios, the radius, and what piece of freedom they need or can be allowed to operate. All these questions that answering and which of these answers can only be got through trial and error. And either push together air cargo is one of the most exciting business domains that will keep on evolving. That's I hope.
Dr. Kaur, thank you very much. I'm sort of imagining the sky is full of fixed-wing drones. I don't know whether I will live to see that site as well. So you are saying yes for the future, but there are a lot of questions.
A lot of questions, and there will be restrictions. This is also to do with an unmanned vehicle basically cruising along our gas guys. So we don't know what's on board, we don't know where it's going. And there's a lot of questions that need to be asked at that point. And I think the first step would be for the smaller delivery drones, because that's much more controlled environment, and that will be the first step to how and what to impact that one.
Thank you very much. Well, very interesting stuff was said in this panel. I had seen a film of Woody Allen. He was learning speed reading, and he read War and Peace, and he summarized it, saying that it's happening in Russia. So I will make a similar summary without going into the detail, a little bit better than Woody Allen. So what everyone is agreeing on is that there will be a great increase of demand in air cargo into the future, and that the demand will be more coming from Asia, and the central gravity will be a little bit shifting towards Asia. And as JC said, and many of you have confirmed, that e-commerce will exponentially increase, and so that will put pressure on who owns the capacity, as people were saying. So there will be probably more dedicated flights and so forth. And what else did we say? In the airports, whether there was a debate about whether the capacity will outgrow the demand or not. So there were varying opinions on that, which is very good. We said that the demand patterns will change. The fact that e-commerce will increase the importance of omni-channel supply chains, and the content of what is being carried, such as semiconductors, will change. And the Air Force, the cargo facilities will be very nimble, very agile, and there will be a lot of automation. And finally, said that the fixed-wing drones will be something in the future. We know that, but in what shape and form is yet to be decided. I have received lots of questions from the audience as well, and now this is the lottery. So let me see the first lottery is JC to you. So it says, question to JC. Airlines and airports now realize the value of cargo. Do you think that the same investment will be done to monetize the service and make it much more accessible for trade? Today, it is very restricted as airlines selling limited number of stakeholders. So, lottery question.
I mean, if I understand the question correctly, I think all this is asking whether airlines and airports should collaborate more to make security and enable trade.
Yes, I think yes.
I think one of the key lessons that we learned during this pandemic is how fundamental air cargo is, not just in the airport, aviation industry, but also the national economy. While passenger flights are grounded, borders are closed, people can't move, but cargo still needs to move. I think especially for a very small country like Singapore, I think we are very dependent on trade. In fact, every food product that is imported, from various modes, including air as well. So I think it is very important that, despite the pandemic, that airports and airlines should work closely, not just with each other, but also with the authorities and regulators, keep air cargo supply chain open to enable trade, so that essential goods like medical and food supply will always reach the hands of patients.
Thank you very much, Lisa. And I also have a question here where it says, how does the panel see the future relationship between air and sea cargo providers? Who would want to raise his hand or her hand to answer this question? I see Peter is really raising the hand. I can see it. You may not see it, but I do see it. So Peter, thanks for volunteering to answer that.
No, I think it's all dependent on the cost of the products and what can the logistics spent there when you're talking about air and ocean. We all know that uplift by ocean is much cheaper than air. Probably the last few months it's shown slightly different sometimes, but no, it's all dependable on if the product can bear. When the ownership of the product starts, are you producing your own materials? So the inventory costs it's important. So are you willing to pay for air but become the owner of the product when it arrives at destination? Or do you produce yourself, put it into a 40 container, and only ready for 30 days when it's on the vessel, that inventory? All those costs are becoming more important, and then all the people within the shippers world, they are well organized and they know exactly what kind of models they are using. And the only thing what we are doing is trying to say to them, hey, did you thought about this? Did you thought about that? And then you have different boats. It's not only air and ocean. It's nowadays, it's even trucking out of China. It's rail out of China. It's sea air via Dubai, the traditional. But nowadays, sea air via Los Angeles. But then the port congestion in Long Beach, will that help all those discussions? I think on a day-to-day discussion on the shipper side as on the freight forwarder side. And then the discussion always will be which mode of transport fits our model to sell, because all those products are shipped around the world to be sold and to generate the revenue for the ship.
Very good. Any other comments, contributions on that? It's about almost leaning forward, and I don't know how to interpret that. If not, I move to another question. And this is for you. Someone is asking about track and trace. They say track and trace is an issue now, and how are you planning to increase that? And I suppose JC can also comment on that as well. So, what do you think about that, Cole?
Well, thank you, Ahmed. A truly interesting question. And here, if you look forward into the future, I could imagine that based on an Internet of Things setup, basically every package could have its own track and trace embedded device, where throughout the supply chain there would be points whereby a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, it would pinpoint itself and send the signal to whatever software is managing that track and trace supply chain. So where now track and trace is proprietary, one was providing transportation service, like I call it Peter and Sail via CEVA, via their own track and trace device. I could also see shippers organizing their own track and trace device, and then regardless of transport, always have the same. That is my expectation. But Internet of Things will drive that forward. Of course, Marco relates. Well, thank you. My colleague Professor Dr. Wouter nodding, so I on that one. Thank one. But Mark also said currently we are in a supply crunch when it comes to all the process to give necessary for that. So the actual factual rollout of such a scenario would be delayed by the current prices. That's what I would say.
Thank you very much. Any more contributions on the subject?
To add, that apart from the capacity development over the next 5 to 10 years, I think that also JC said that as well. The air cargo community building and the further digitalization, these are the two biggest challenges I think for the air cargo world in the 5 years to match. And these two are more like soft factors rather than hard factors. And that is linked to the track and trace challenges that air cargo has. That's why I think indeed that further air cargo community building, where everyone has its role, when you start sharing data, sharing systems, connecting systems, and further digitalization is a very interesting things to watch over the next 5 to 10 years.
Very good.
Just weigh in look at the air cargo supply chain, it's still pretty fragmented, and there are many touch points along the way. And each stakeholder is holding to its own data, right? The airport has data, the shipper has data, the freight forwarder has data, and the airlines has data. But in my opinion, right, for us to really reach really end-to-end shipment capability, where I think everybody needs to come together, share data. And when we talk about data, it's not sometimes it's not just about location. When it comes to temperature control shipments, I think they're also very concerned about the integrity of the shipment, whether there's any temperature deviation. So I think it's important that all the stakeholders come together, start collaborating and share data in a very safe environment. And I think now is the right time because as what we all mentioned here, we have the right technology now. We have blockchain technology, we have cloud chain technology that will enable more reliable and safe technology.
Very good. Wow. What a beautiful debate. What a good panel. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, JC. Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you very much, Marco, Dr. Paul, and Wouter. That was a fascinating debate. I hope the audience enjoyed it as well. Thank you very much for the answers. And I hand it over to Sam. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Well, thank you to all the guest speakers. There are great insights there. And now let's have a break. And during the break, you can play an online game. It's called a Cargo Row. And I highly recommend you to play the game on your computer instead of the mobile phone. The game is interesting. Nowadays, we all want to get vaccine, right? And the game is about a man who run around all the cargo containers to collect vaccine. The more you collect, the higher score you get. Just going to be avoiding those roadblockers. Now, there's a big prize for the highest score. You win one free economy class round-trip ticket to anywhere on Turkish Airlines Global Network. I'll be announcing the winner at the end of the program. Good luck and have fun. Welcome back. How was the game? Was it too easy? Well, there will be more chance for you to win more tickets. This time in business class. It will be a fun quiz game at the end of the webinar. So watch us to the end. We'll have more chance to win tickets. Now, our second topic of discussion today is digitalization in the air freight industry. It is moderated by Hank Moder, the head of digital cargo at IATA.
Of Turkish Airlines.
Welcome, Mr.
This
Hank.
is a great initiative.
Welcome, Hank, and the stage is yours.
As an echo, it's going to be very... Okay, I will speak to it. Thank you very much for the introduction here. As you can see around me, there's a terrific panel of experts, and I will introduce in a minute. But before that, I would like to thank Turkish Airlines for the initiative in organizing other talks. The topics that are on today's agenda are super relevant. More than any other time to our internet, these sort of panels are necessary because we need to understand where we are and what's going on. We are in a very strange time in the world, really. This whole COVID-19 crisis has changed so many things. And we're just trying to figure out what exactly has been going on here. I mean, just a year ago, we're all coming to terms with teleworking and operating our business remotely, something that we weren't prepared for, even though we had been doing digitalization for a long time. And then in the meantime, we had the changes in capacity, the whole infrastructure, everything that's going on. And now we're talking about COVID, vaccine distribution and everything. A lot of things are going on. And then if you sort of look at digitalization, it seems to me that it's become far more important than it was before. It's always been important, but somehow in a very short time it's become a very central. And I think today we have a tremendous opportunity, experts that I have around me here, to look into that. We have a number of topics we're going to discuss, but what I hope we can walk away with is get a good understanding of what are the key priorities today, what are the issues that we're addressing, because many of us have this question, and I'm sure many among you have. Speaking of which, while we're speaking, if you have any questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A box that you have there. Then at some point we'll address it either during the talk or at the end of it. But by all means, don't hesitate. At this point, I think I would like to, in effect, I will start with myself, a very quick introduction. So my name is Henk Mulder. I'm at the Cargo at IATA. I have been working in digitalization my entire career, but in cargo really only for the last 5 to 10 years. Functions. A lot of progress taking place at IATA, and I don't need to go into those details, but this is a topic that I'm passionate about, and therefore I'm passionate and appreciative of to have this panel. I would like to go around the room here. I'll start with Ali, who's the CIO of Turkish Airlines, and he's really our host. Ali, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Andy. Welcome everybody. Yes, this is SA.ARABIC. I am the CEO of Turkish Airlines. Recently, I am CEO of Turkish Airlines Technology. So we made a decision to go with the technology company and put some stamp on the ground for airline business and cargo business. And we started with the cargo business because we see a lot of challenges over there and a lot of opportunities. So we will be able a lot to discuss. So the microphone to the rest of my colleagues or us.
Thank you, Ali. The next panelist I would like to is Schreiber, who is the CEO of Enfoundry Vehicles. And I've discovered from his bio that we share an interest in physics, so one day we'll have to do that on a separate call. Steve, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Thanks, Turkish Airlines for having us on. So yes, Freightos is all about digitalizing international freight. Freightos has a subsidiary which is for connecting freight forwarders and airlines. By 2,000 orders representing about the whole market, for rate management, quoting, and now more and more for electronic products.
Thanks very much, Steve. The next person I would like to introduce is Stefan Nod, ex-colleague and colleague of mine, who's currently the head of engagement and transformation of systems.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Frank. So I'm working for Chapter System, one of the leading software companies in the cargo arena. We have this type of product, mainly the software application, enterprise systems for airline different models, and also freight forwarders, EMS. And also we have another pillar of our company, the messaging. We are one of the largest cargo system operator. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. And the next panelist is Matthias Hurst, Director of Agility. Matthias, go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. At Agility, I'm responsible mainly for the carrier integration, collaboration with the industry, but also like provide consultancy for the network. And because of this, I'm very much aware of all the issues around topics of digitalization. And yeah, that's why I give all my passion to the subject. Thank those that from the various IATA working groups I'm busy with, I could say. Yeah, looking forward to the panel.
Thank you very much, Matthias. And indeed, we all work together, actually. We have lots of engagement in different capacities. And so, kind of it's a home game. I suggest we get into it and make best use of our time to really address these questions around digitalization. And The first question I want to sort of set the scene. Look back a little bit, find out where we come from, where we are. And so one question that you could ask, certainly pre-COVID, is a question that I've asked many times, is where have we failed in digitalization? Because in my view, we haven't got as far as we should have gone. Certainly compare ourselves to some other industries. So, but perhaps looking beyond what did we expect to work, but isn't working as well? And in the current context, now it's let's start with Matthias. Matthias, how would you respond to the statement?
Well,
Matthias, how do you respond to?
the expectation to measure against, and I'm not sure that all the stakeholders in the industry have the same expectations. So that's one thing. And the other thing is, I mean, we're not at the end of the process, so we don't really know. If you ask me, I would say we didn't do very well so far, and I can see two main reasons for this. The number one reason I would say is that people still do not see digitalization as what it really is. We still think it's a representation of a paper object or electronic representation of a paper object and related processes, but they don't see the true power of action.
Hamunin. Tuloy pa rin puso mo. Handa na akong hamunin ang aking mundo, pagkatuloy pa rin. Tuloy pa rin. Makaka-copyright ako nito. Lakas ng sound sa labas.